appreciate the introductions because it gives me a good bit of insight, and I can structure what I'm going to talk to you guys about in a way that's like it's going to best serve you. It's one of the benefits of doing this with a small collective like this. So we can, as long as it's cool with Jerry, we can keep it very informal, open format, and I definitely appreciate trying to find places to park cash while you wait for the next thing, like whatever your thing is that you do to make your living and how you generate revenue. Like while you're doing that or waiting for the next opportunity in that space, there's a lot of other things you can be doing. We do this inside of my mastermind all the time, and we're always talking about, okay, what, like, where can we park some cash? Where can we get some yield? While we do, for us, it's it's big forced appreciation style fix and flips. And for a lot of you guys, it sounds like it's different variations of multifam, different size, some syndications. It sounds like a couple of you guys are looking to do the development stuff, kind of like we do here. So I think this talk will really resonate. And I'm gonna switch it up. I'll show you the deck, and then I think the best way to approach this is for me to kind of lay out what my intention is tonight, and then we can, like I said, open format, and I want to be able to leave you guys with actionable and implementable like tools, tips, tricks, strategies, and things that you can actually do. And so instead of talking at you and presenting, because this is a pretty dense topic, I'm going to jump around. So let me just get in here. So my intention was to talk to you guys about the forced appreciation model and like how it's different. It sounds like a few of you are already doing versions of this. So how it's different from value add rehabbing or just cosmetic rehabbing. Talk to you about like where it works, which this is going to be really good, especially for the guys in Charlotte, Gonzalo, Santiago. Like I think this is going to really resonate with you guys. And then if you care to do it yourself, what you might be looking for when you like analyze and acquire these properties. But it sounds like with this group, you might be looking to like bet the jockey. And so you might be looking for really good operators to put cash with in exchange for a debt or equity position, is my take, listening to some of those intros. Before I jump in, is that fair? If I missed the mark on anything, Jerry, let me know.
Well, I would say, because personally myself, I'm more, like I have the W-2. I'm more of a passive investor. I know Greg has, quite a few passive. A few of the others are probably more on the active side, I would say. So it's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag.
Okay, when we get to the part about like analyze and acquire, I structured it in such a way where it's not about the how, it's about the who. And so I won't spend a lot of time on the how. I'll spend more time on identifying the who can do the how. And that's the business we should all be in, by the way. I look at this group and I see a handful of guys that are probably about the same age. And so like we got no business swinging hammers on projects. None of us. So, all right, I'll just quickly run through this. And for those that don't know my story, I'm a second generation home builder. So I grew up on construction sites watching my dad swing hammers, by the way, like into his 60s, to the point where a 62-year-old man has arthritis and is just beat up, hands, knees, like everything, his hips. So, and I watched him do it the whole while thinking like there's a better way. So I got really systematic about taking like the 1.0 version into like the new generation. So we do the 2.0 version of what my dad did, which was building mostly duplexes in Newark. Those like cookie cutter stamped out two fams with the garage in the front. If you guys are, a lot of you are Jersey based, you'll know what I'm talking about.
The Bayonne box, right, Gabe? They call them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing special about him. He used to build them and just stamp them out one by one, and he would do the built to rent. And that's how he built his portfolio, but always trying to save every dollar. And then I came around and said, oh, like, I don't want to swing hammers. I don't even want to like oversee the swinger of the hammers, right? That's a project manager role. I want to kind of oversee the guy that oversees the swinger of the hammers, which is the role we all should look to operate in, which is like not in the business, not on the business, above the business. And so that's kind of the approach I brought to fix and flip, and specifically this forced appreciation style of fix and flip. And investor, builder. We also did something really unique, was like I really leaned into that second generation home builder brand. And so we started to position ourselves as builders, not just flippers, for a handful of reasons. And it came to benefit us a lot later because deals started to find us. We were able to leverage this to organically generate a lot of lead flow. I could talk a little bit about the power of planting your flag, and how that's been huge for us. And some of you are already doing it, like when you're relocating to places and you're getting immersed in the RIA scene. Like that's exactly what that is, right? It's like grab the microphone any opportunity you get. And then I started teaching it. The other thing that I did a little bit different was my dad's era was very scarcity mindset, and like they were afraid that everybody would take, and so they never really pulled the curtain back. They were not sharing resources, and we do the complete opposite. I teach exactly how to do what I do. I'll show you guys a handful of the things that I teach today, but I have no fear that someone is going to rip me off. In fact, I say R&D, rip off and duplicate. It's another thing I actually like advocate for. So that's just so different. And I was fortunate to have my pops come on one of these bus tours on Father's Day, like 3 years ago, and he could not believe how freely everybody was sharing their resources. He just was not wired that way. It like completely broke his frame. So, and that's what we're doing here, right? And that's so I'll quickly run through the distinction, and I'll pause as I go through this because I want to make sure that like it's landing and that it makes sense to you guys, which I suspect that it will. And I also don't want to go too deep. If it's like, oh, we got it, Gabe, like let's move forward. Don't hesitate. I'll be quick here. Like we don't advocate for doing cosmetic rehabs. It's not our model. I feel like when you do value add rehabs, you're stuck within that box, a buy level, a split. If it's a 3-2 when you buy it, it's a 3-2 when you sell it. You can only do so much. And forced appreciation is the complete opposite, in that you can add, you can go up, or you can scrape dirt. That's a lot of what you guys are talking about in Charlotte. And then we add square footage on the left. That's an addition for a baller kitchen. We blew the kitchen out, and then above it was the ensuite for the master bedroom. Here we just figured out a way to bump out over a bay window and create a bathroom for a princess suite. These are what attic levels looks like. Are you guys familiar with attic levels and just ripping the roof off? They call them pop tops or attic levels.
I have a buddy in downtown Jersey City who owned a townhome, like one of those brownstones, and he actually added another level because Jersey City allowed for that. So he completely, like, I don't know, quadruple the value of his property. I'm doing that.
Yeah,
It's really interesting because my house is well, the area because you did a lot of I think you used to live in Westfield, right, Gabe? So I'm in Scotch Plains, and I'm at that point because every single house that they'll knock down and put up, like a 1.6, $2 million. But mine is like a little bit, you can't knock it down. So it's the next person's gonna add a level. Like that's literally what's gonna happen.
Yep. This what you're looking at now was acquisition price. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but the one on the left we paid 185, the one on the right we paid 295. It's Kenilworth on the left and Springfield on the right for those that are local. And we went straight up, no addition, no cantilever on the left, and spent maybe 155 back then to add a second floor. You'd be hard pressed to do that. Like that's quite literally impossible today. On the right, we might have spent more like 215 to go up because it was a wider ranch and we did cantilever to the back. But we actually, the one on the right, I'm going to show you the full cycle project, but both yielded the same. Both yielded six figures, 105, 112. Like that was usually like our sweet spot on these. And this is new construction. This is finding the worst house on the best street, decent sized lot, and figuring out, okay, what's highest and best here. If I cannot work with what's there, because we always try to work with what's there. If we can't, we scrape the dirt and we build what the market commands. And these are always fantastic deals, like because you're paying for what you can create. Like you're not really paying for what's there, but you're getting it at the what's there price. So on the left, we paid 95 in Rawway to tear down a bungalow to build this thing, this mother-daughter, which traded for 595, I think. And then it's sold within like a year after I sold it for another 100K over. And then on the right was Cranford, 225 to tear down, to spend 365 to build 3,200 feet, and it traded for 799. These are all old numbers, but I'm just giving you guys this stuff so you can think about those multiples and like, okay, so you're acquiring at roughly 35 to 40% of the ARV. That's what, like, as I'm sharing these numbers, be thinking, okay, where can I get in at that? Because if you think 40% of ARV to acquire, another 40% of ARV to build, 20% of ARV is margin, and then back out dispo and other costs, and that's your net profit. Why I love it, it's less competitive. You have to have two things working in your favor to make this happen. You have to understand construction, or at least have someone on your team that does, and you have to be good, which all of you guys are, with finance, with like sometimes complex financial structures, but mostly like just raising like bigger raises. And so your typical flipper won't do this deal because of that. The budgets are great. Like when you're spending that kind of money, you can afford to get a player tradesmen. You don't have to like cut corners. You have the budget to do this right, which makes your life that much easier, whether you're going to run this or you're going to put a project manager on this, or if you're going to hire like a good quality GC. And then I love that it's scalable, because when you're making 100 plus per project, you can onboard staff. Like you can start building a real team. And when you do cosmetic rehabs and you're making 20K, 30K per project, you can't really afford to go get a project manager or an office manager or any of those things. So that's why I advocate for this model over any other version of fix and flip. And of course, I realize like I'm biased and I'm talking my book, but that's how I approach it. So is the distinction like what we do and the forced appreciation style of fix and flip versus value add, cosmetic rehabs, lipstick the pig, like is that distinction like clear? Any questions on that?
Yeah, I guess one you might be probably gonna address this, but do you run into permit issues like in some of these towns?
Yeah, there's I will get to it, and it's our competitive advantage, and I'll show you why. But of course, when you're doing stuff like this, like a couple of the guys were talking about entitlements, like a lot of the real value is done on the front end. It's that soft cost. It's getting that, like getting those approvals. Not necessarily with what we do as much as what you guys are talking about. Um, so this is just being very, very clear on what we're a buyer of. And because we were clear and are clear on what we buy, it's really easy for people to bring us stuff that fits our buy box. So the learning here, it's not what my buy box is, it's like, what's yours? And if you guys don't have one, which it sounds like most of you do, get like crystal clear on what your buy box is. And then anytime you get an opportunity to tell people what you buy, tell them. And then when they bring it to you, buy it. Here's just like a visual representation of what this all looks like in the field, in markets where we're actively doing this. For those that are local, this is Springfield, New Jersey. And so you can see these ranches with the little garage off to the side, and then you can already see the model working. Like we don't ever really want to be first to market. We're not looking to get out there and test the market. We want to see some proof of concept before we go in and start dropping all this money and all these resources into a market. This is Kenilworth. So again, similar scenario. And you can see the bigger houses on the same street as the smaller houses. Sometimes you could even see them right next door, bottom left here. This is a prime example. So this is what you're looking for. And this is how we qualify a market to say, okay, like there's an opportunity here to do this in this market. And then I'll just show you a few quick ones, like full cycle. Here's the one I showed you earlier, rendered. And then this is where you can kind of see the vision for it executed. So this one's Westfield. So those that are local, Westfield is really, really good to us. And there's a story behind this one. You can see super dated. Here it is rendered. Here it is in progress being built. So you can see, like when you look at the left and you look at it framed, you can actually see some of the old house, the new house on top of it. And you can see why this would be intimidating to your typical rehabber. The numbers were great. This was a deal machine find. So I'll share a little bit about that too, like when we get a little bit later, if you guys want to source stuff like this, here's how we do it. This was the third deal I ever pinned in Deal Machine. I actually lived around the corner from this house, ran past it, pinned it in Deal Machine. We bought it 535 and we exited a year later for 1.5. We spent 5 in between though. So here's just one more. Raised Ranch. This house just traded again, actually. I sold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.89 to a couple that was like real funny about numbers. And they just sold it again. I just saw it came back up on my Zillow. I favorite everything that we touch in Zillow, so I can always track it. Like, and a lot of the things we've built have sold multiple times since. Here's another like full cycle project, just so you guys can see it. I'll pause there before I jump into this part. This is where it gets really dense, and I'm gonna probably jump out of the screen share here, and we can talk through this section more than me just like talking at you guys. But are these visuals helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. Quick question. How long did it take you on average to do a flip like this?
This might have been just under a year. I remember the ones that were over a year because of the extensions. This was a year because you have to get an extension with your hard money lender. We crushed this. We probably did this in 6 months. This was really quick. So I would say with your team like going and things dialed in a town, like back to Jerry's point about the permitting process, in a town where you're known well, you can move. You can really crush. Like our record's 4 months in Kenilworth because we were known well, right? It's like you don't want to be well known, you want to be known well. And so we would go into the town. The admins knew us by name. I would give them baskets at Christmas. Like we were getting permits turned around in 2 weeks. And so we had a project that we were able to finish in 4 months. And that's what a GC who's actively on a project every day with his team swinging hammers, they can rip through a project in 4 months, and then you can get close to close in 6 months. But that's the exception, not the rule. Things are taking closer to a year.
Hey, Grape, a quick question. You might probably go over this later, but are you gonna show us kind of like how you guys are structured as far as like I'm trying to understand like what your role is and who brings the deals, who constructs it, all that, who sells it, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how's your team structured? Thanks.
Yeah, it's not in here, but my intention was to jump out of this last section and just open dialogue with you guys because I know the structures are important, the JVs, who gets paid and how. Like as I was thinking more about how this is going to best serve you guys, then as I was listening to your intros, I realized that's going to be the most valuable thing we do. So I'll probably jump out of the screen share and we can just open dialogue that. This is where I said it's going to get like real dense, and this is why it's not necessarily critical for you to do this unless you want to do this, right? Like this is what we do, and that's why we do it. But if I didn't do this, I wouldn't do this. We do valuation, regulation, and construction. Those are like my 3 check boxes anytime I look at an opportunity. So if somebody sends me 123 Main Street in Westfield, it's available. Are you interested? Well, like the first thing I do is I run comps. I quickly like look at what's there. I Google it. I look at what's there. And then I like going through my sample set in my mind, I figure out what I can put there and then what will the market bear. That's valuation. And so what's important is like, what will the market bear? What are the comps? What are things trading for? And so if you send me a cape with an attached 1-car garage in Scotch Plains that's trading for 440, you're going to get my attention. If you send me the same house at 800, like you're probably not going to get my attention because I know what the values are. I know if I go up on that, if I go back, I know what I can push. I know what the market will bear in that town. So, and this, you can go super deep on this. This is like a CMA adjustment worksheet that Jeffrey Otto, for those of you that are local, you might know Jeffrey Otto, the real estate economist in New Jersey. His spring market forecast in-person event is actually on Thursday. So if anybody's local and is wanting to go, he does it one in the spring and one in the fall. And that's where all this data comes from. So this is how you dial in your ARV. You could also, like I said, the who, not how. You could also get a killer agent in that market and let them tell you what this thing will be worth when you're done. Regulation, here's where it gets like, this is going to be very market specific. So what I often suggest is that the market that you're going to actively farm, your first one should of course be your backyard, because you're going to know that town better than you're going to know any other town. So like immerse yourself in that town, understand the zoning. Like Westfield, for example, has 5 different zones. Like I lived there for years. I did projects there for many years. It's important that you understand like all the nuances of zoning, and that in the zones where the minimum lot size is 75, 100 feet, that the setbacks may be 10 feet on the left and right. But when you go into the zone where the minimum lot size is 12,000 feet, then the setbacks will be 12 feet to the left and right. This is the kind of stuff that it's important for you to know if you're going to actively do this. If not, like I said, who, not how, who's going to go and do the zoning, like, and understanding this and pulling these bulk standards. Is this the first time you guys are seeing stuff like this? Zoning map, bulk standards. You guys have like a familiarity with this stuff? Yeah. Okay. I see
Not
some.
really.
Okay. No worries. This is again, like the idea is like, if I don't know how to read one of these, which my expectation is that unless you've read a lot of these, you don't know how to read one of these. That's why you hire architects. That's why you call the zoning office. And that's exactly what we do, because sometimes there's these like strange nuances that even I don't understand. So you call zoning, and in most cases, they're very helpful. You get an engineer to tell you about things like setbacks. So I've read a lot of surveys. I've spent a lot of time converting these like bulk standards in like these charts and these narratives that are often written in Latin, converting them into something that like visually you can see and think around. But if you haven't, this is where an engineer on your team is good. And then the third piece of the puzzle is the architect. And that's who ultimately draws what you're going to build inside of the building envelope and figures out like, hey, here's what you could do without a variance, because we do not do variances. In fact, I got smoked on a variance on a commercial deal that would have been a great fit for Anthony's next location. That's exactly what the person who ultimately bought it from me is putting there. And I thought I was going to have a lot more relief from the city in Bloomfield, and I was sorely mistaken. And it cost 2 years and like 150K to figure out that lesson. And then construction. That's and so there's a million ways. I don't want to say a million. There's a lot of ways to figure out what this thing is going to cost. We won't spend too much time on it, but the best way is this way here. It's figuring out what someone else is paying to do what you want to do, where you want to do it in real time. This is what we do inside of our collective. Like we're constantly sharing P&Ls, and people are, hey, I just paid $22,000 to drywall a 2,800 square foot new construction. And okay, I'm about to break ground on a 3,000 or a 3,200 square foot. And when I get my proposals, if they come in at 28,000, like I should be suspicious, like, right? Because I know what someone else just paid to do something comparable in and around my market. This is the best way. It's just getting numbers from other people, which is the power of groups like this. And then this is more about like where these deals are and where you can find them. Like I said, we curate our own lists and we go actively find these. Like I bring people in and they drive for dollars, and we create our own list, and then we hit it with mail. We do some organic, we do some paid. And then the strategic distinction, that was again, the distinction between forced appreciation and value add, qualify the market, try and buy at roughly 40% of ARV. If you can do that, that usually qualifies the market. It's kind of just like the litmus test before you go in. And then how do you analyze and ultimately acquire these properties? Valuation, regulation, and construction. Those are like the 3 elements. And I'll jump out of the screen share now, and we can like kind of dialogue back and forth. And then I can jump back in if you guys want to see anything again. But I'd love, because the group is small enough, it'd be great if we could just Q&A and just go back and forth, and we could talk about structure and the things that I think are going to be like most helpful to you guys.
I guess I'll jump first. You know, what I'm thinking of in my mind is kind of like what you're saying, like where how the typical fix and flipper, right? They're gonna shy away from some of these more pricier projects, right? So how do I, if I got six people here in the room, we got some capital, we want to put it to work. So, what kind of, I'm looking at something that like, you showed that one that was in Westfield, I think it was like 585. So that's a perfect example. So then how do I structure that deal like with my investors? And I'm working with the contractor basically. I guess am I raising that extra 500,000 to get to that 1.5, right? So how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. What I'll say is that with a group like this, it's hard to have two people wear the finance hat. The only way we've found that you could do a three-way JV, because remember, somebody has to do the ops. Someone's got to be in the field. Someone's got to like build this thing. And I don't think it's anybody on this call. I don't think that's what we're here to do. We're here to find and fund, and then we empower someone else to fix. The deals are never fat enough to do a three-way JV with two finance partners, has been my experience. So you'd be looking to identify a really good operator, and then you would back that operator. That's what I do. Like, so a lot of the guys in my program that come through the program, I teach them how to do this. And then we wind up in JVs together where I'm the funding partner. I raise all the money and I just empower them to go and manage the project. If you guys wanted to collectively take something down, it's got to be something more like I think Gonzalo was talking about in North Carolina. It's got to be like some sort of a ground up development play where you're tearing down a ranch to put up a four fam, something like that. If that makes sense, there's enough spread there to get you guys excited, to get two or three of us excited. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
And you as the funding partner, is it just your capital or can you have four people behind a LLC or something like that?
I raise it. I do like the Kiyosaki thing. Only lazy people use their own money. Even when I have my own money, I don't use my own money. Like I make a conscious effort to never self-finance the purchase. Because when I do, you're like, when it comes to your own money, you're just naturally more lax and you'll leave your money in a deal. And then when the next opportunity comes, you've got all this money tied up in this deal. So if I have to close quick with my own capital, I'll refi out as quickly as possible. But to answer the question, like I'll go and raise private from friends and family. That's my contribution to the deal. So I'm funding the deal. Where I get that funding from
Doesn't matter. Right.
doesn't matter.
So what kind of terms do you look for on a private funding like that?
So if I'm raising, like when I go out to raise, which by the way, I'll get to that, but it's like something I am relentlessly raising now. It's like something I have to constantly and always and ever be doing. But I have like a really canned pitch, and I always say 0 to 100K, I pay 8%. 100 to 250, I pay 10%. 250 and up, I pay 12%. And so I have this structure that I can deliver very like assertively and confidently, because the worst thing you could do is be wishy-washy when they ask how much you're going to pay them. And then, by the way, I have this book I wanted to show you guys, like on the topic of private money, Speak Like Churchill, Stand Like Lincoln. There's a chapter in here written about Ben Franklin, who was one of like the first fundraisers this country has ever known. And it's amazing, his strategies. And so like, anyway, I'm weaving it into what I already do because it's really about like certainty and confidence. And then you guys lend money. You know what you want to know is like, how safe is my investment? Like, is my principal going to be preserved here? And then when am I getting this back and what's the rate? Like, right, are you guys giving me this money back in 12 months, 18 months, 24 months? And what's my IRR? So any more data than that, I tend to lose people. And remember, I'm also pitching less sophisticated investors. I'll say that, and I mean that very nicely. This isn't what they do. This is what you guys do. You speak this language, so I can speak to you at a different level. With them, it's really more about the narrative. It's about casting this vision, telling a story, which is what like Benjamin Franklin talks about in this book, is like get really, really good at telling a story and say it the way I'm saying it now with a lot of energy, because people want to align with you. That's who they're betting on. Ultimately, they're betting on me. And like, is Gabe going to do what he said he's going to do? Like, they don't give a shit about ripping roofs off and stuff. Like, yeah, it's interesting, but at the end of the day, it's like, all right, Gabe, just don't screw us. That's our retirement, and make sure I get it back. And if you give it back to us at 10%, we're just going to keep giving you more.
Hey, Gabe, I got so many questions, man.
That's
By the way,
Um,
he's one of those that does swing the hammer though. And
yeah, I love swinging the hammer.
and he knows the numbers.
I got to force myself not to do it because I like it so much. Hey, you mentioned you should be acquiring, or you at least you guys acquire 40% of something of ARV. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Yep, that's our target.
That's your target. Do you feel like that's very specific to just kind of where you're operating versus like where I'm at right now in Charlotte, say?
No, I think it's true. Well, let me be careful how I answer that. Because of the scope of the renovation, the 40-40-20 rule has always proofed out. What I'm finding is it's actually better in other places because we have had folks come through our program who are in different parts of the country. And I'll do this qualify a market exercise with them where I kind of like zoom in and we just use like Zillow. And I'll go in and I'll see, oh, wow, you can actually buy dirt for 295 and a finished new construction is trading for 1.3. In our world, that's unheard of up here. And so when I see that, I get excited for them. So I don't know your market well enough to say what exactly the rules should be, but I suspect it's going to be close to or better. The multiple should be close to or better than what it is up here.
And when you say 40-40-20, that's 40 acquire, 40 renovation budget, 20% kind of profit.
Yeah.
Okay. Second question. So it's very interesting what you said about how to acquire real-time pricing on construction costs and kind of being newish to the area. That's one thing that's real hard here is finding like builders who actually are really good builders and decent pricing and can kind of get the job done. I guess how would you go about kind of getting that other than kind of like just pricing out different, getting 3 contractors to bid a project out, that getting a P&L, you're talking about the P&Ls for each project that a contractor has completed, like you're actually getting the information from them?
In our group, we would do that. Like we're open and we're sharing that like
Wow.
internally. You'd be hard pressed to get a contractor to do that. Like he's
Yeah.
not going to tell you what his costs are.
Yeah. Because that's like like here I feel like in construction and including development, like people don't like to share that information like much because they feel like it's kind of like you mentioned, like your father back in the day. It's kind of like, why am I going to help you out by giving you prices, right? So
The trick here's like people often ask if I was going back and starting over, what would I do different? Or if you like airdrop me somewhere with no resources, no network, I would do what I was telling you guys earlier, which is like plant my flag and grab a microphone and I would create the environment that I hope existed. So here I curated this type of environment where people feel good about giving you their P&L so you can actually see how much they make, how much they spend. And so if that doesn't exist there yet, I encourage you guys to create it. And now that 2 of you are there, like the 2 of you could connect and spin up some sort of a meetup or something like that. If you don't already have one, if you have one, just go there. Just go there and just plant your flag, or grab the mic, I should say. But you have to create this environment. That's the short answer.
cool. And one last question, Gabe. On that one photo that you had in there where you tore down like the majority of the house, but you kept like the garage and something else, is that because like it's some sort of historical classification for that home that you have to keep a certain percentage? Like, why didn't you just knock the entire thing down, the new one?
There's benefits to keeping the existing foundation and the existing structure. You don't have to do utility disconnects. You get to keep the footings, the foundation. So more often than not, you keep the first floor deck. From there up, everything else gets tossed. Here, and I'm not sure that this applies by you, but you don't pay COA. There's a COA fee, and that's for like anytime you bring new product on the market, you're paying a fee. So you don't pay that if you do a renovation, even if it's like a crazy renovation. Although they've started to get wise to that, and a lot of towns are actually charging the COA fee. So yeah, there's a handful of reasons why you would keep as much of the existing as you can.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. I think I know the answer to the question about how do you get good numbers is likely not the answer you wanted. But the reality is, like, you got to find a handful of people that are of the abundance mindset and will share, will be forthcoming. And like I said, my dad's era, and even a lot of guys who are still like around now, they're very scarcity minded and they don't want you to know how much they're making. And what I found is as soon as I started being vulnerable and transparent and sharing my numbers, I was like, hey, this is how much I made on this. People started to align with that, and the right people started to find their way into my world. And now we just openly talk about it. People don't want to talk about how much money they make, how much money they have. It's all nonsense, it's all taboo. But the second you start talking about it and you start like, and especially in the multifam and the commercial world, those guys, they talk about their net worth. Like they publicly, like they are open and vulnerable, and they want to grow their net worth. And the way to grow it is to talk about it. So you
Yeah,
just
I agree.
gotta find
Like
those guys.
I definitely feel like for multifamily, when I was researching per square footage cost, that was kind of an easier information to acquire, because you could go to the cities and you could see the permits that they pulled, and you can see construction costs, kind of everything on a per square footage for large commercial multifamily operations. But when you're talking about like 4 units and under, that's kind of like you need to get three GCs to price it out, and then see, who's got kind of like the best price, and making sure everything's good in the scope. That takes time. You need to have something already kind of designed a little bit.
Mhm, mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. My hope was that like in our time together, you would come away from this. And a lot of times when I do like a talk about this, a lot of folks are like, that looks like a lot of work. I know I don't want to do that. And I'll just lend to you. I get that a lot. Uh, and I get a lot of folks who are like, oh, I have like an ability to raise, or I am uniquely capable of running projects. Like, and so you kind of identify what your giftedness is, and you figure out, okay, how am I going to use that in this world? Um, or like I said, you kind of just bet the jockey. You find a really good operator who knows how to like take care of your, like preserve your capital, and you just like bankroll them and let them
Yeah.
go to work.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to be forwarding this recording to my two partners here in Charlotte that we're doing this new development for, because your model is like, that'd be perfect for what we're doing, if we can get it going. So
Yeah. If you want me to beat the drums louder and get me on a call with them, I'm happy to do this and say this again with this same energy if that's what's needed. Or if you
you,
guys watch this recording back,
Gabe, you can branch out to like different areas. You can come to Charlotte next.
yeah, Jerry, I think, knows this, and I know we're pushing up on 8:30. I'll just say one last thing. We are, I'll show you here behind me. Look at all that is all that's required for me to get licensed in Florida. In New Jersey, to be a licensed builder, you pay $400 and you get liability coverage up to $1 million, and you can build houses. How scary is that shit? Meanwhile, in Florida, there's 3 tests. I took the first of the 3 tests, and all those books are for the second and third part of the test. Fingerprints, credit check, like they want it all before you can build in Florida. And so we were getting quoted, because we have a couple lots in Florida to build on. We're getting quoted 272 a foot. And I said, no fucking way. No way. Like, I know up here we're
Wow.
building for significantly less than that. So those builders are baking in $100 a foot for themselves. And I said, we'll just get licensed down there and then we'll just run subs. Um, so
You think maybe it's because of the hurricane and just the tougher kind of construction codes is the reason why?
it's demand based. Like, because it's so arduous to get licensed, there are fewer good quality builders, and the ones that are there are busy. So they give you the I don't want the work price, and if you take it, they'll do the work. And so for us, we're like, well, we have a place there. Um, I'll get licensed there. We can run subs, and once you speak the language too, it doesn't and I don't mean like the language like literally, right? It helps to be Portuguese and speak Spanish and all that shit, but the language of construction is the language I'm talking about. And so once you get there and you get immersed, and I don't know if that's true of Charlotte, I suspect that it is.
So Gabe, I appreciate coming. So I like to keep it to an hour, because I don't like anyone to take up too much, and then we network usually afterwards. But if anybody has any last questions, come on. But the one thing I guess I'm gonna hit you with is, obviously, tell me the hard start, like, a bad story or not, or something that's difficult to do. Because if I'm thinking about this conceptually, like I could probably find, someone like, there's a few people in our group like Gonzalo that know what they're doing, like that could be the operator, right? What are some of the things that pitfalls or that, that things don't go right, right? It happens.
Yeah. I'll tell you a cautionary tale, and this will paint the picture. Like we have a girl who was a part of our program like months ago, and then she opted out and she didn't renew and she didn't stay on with us. But she found her first deal shortly after, and she identified the right deal, funded it correctly. Everything about the deal was a deal. So she learned how to find opportunities. She didn't structure it right. And so now this is the only, and I have a personal story about this. Maybe I should tell my story, not her story. But the only deal I ever had go sideways was the deal that was poorly structured and poorly financed. The deal itself, the house, just like in her case, the house is a deal. The add level works. It models to like 180K in gross profit. But because of the way the deal was structured and because of the way the deal was funded, she's going to come out flat. In my case, I actually came out upside down on a deal because of the way it was funded and the way it was structured. So that's the pitfall. That's what's there if you're not careful. Is like someone comes in and structures the deal in a way that's highly favorable to them, but seems okay to you. And then in the end, you're kind of left there with your pockets turned inside out. And you're like, what happened here? Well, you took money at 3 and 13, you ballooned everything, you gave them an equity share, right? Like all those things compound. And in the end, I had to come to closing with cash. So, and that's similar to what's happening to her now. So I would say that's something to be mindful of.
Do you have a certain formula, like what the money partner gets, what that the operator gets, what, the split, and because you said typically it's between 2 or 3 people, right? No more than that.
Yeah, I do. So I believe in like the pure form of a JV, which is I'm the funding partner. I finance the entire project, and I have an operations partner who oversees the field, oversees the project. Neither of us get compensated for our contributions. I don't take on my money. He doesn't take for managing the project. We just split 50-50 at the end. That's, in my experience, that's like the truest JV. And those are the JVs that last the longest. They outlive 1 or even 2 or 3 projects. Those are guys I'm doing 4, 5, and 6 deals with. The second you start trying to pull, like, hey, I'm going to borrow from Sam at 8, but I'm going to lend to the project at 10, and I'm going to arbitrage 2 points. And then your partner's like, okay, well, I'm going to charge the project $1,000 a week for gas and for my time. And that's when, in my experience, these things don't last. They live through 1, maybe 2 projects, and then those JVs just kind of like fizzle out.
Good. Awesome. Anybody else with any other questions?
This was great. I'm glad I had an opportunity to connect with you guys. And yeah, any questions, I can drop my contact in the chat.
Yeah, I think we'll probably all be reaching back out to you, but that was awesome. Good stuff. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on. I'm actually doing 75 hard. I'm day 63, and I still owe 1 workout. So I'm looking outside. I'm like, yeah, I'm going out.
Good.
It's awesome.
So everybody else, I'm going to shut off the recording now. Let's do this here, and we can hang around and split up into 2 rooms and network a little bit. And once again, I'll send this recording out. Gabe, this was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right, have a great night. Ciao.
Thanks.
Gabe.
Yeah. All right, that was good. I just let me start here. I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm gonna set up there's 6 of us. I see Juan has joined, and so I will put together if you guys, whoever's sticking around, I'll put together a breakout room.
I gotta jump off, Jerry, but thanks. This was really good.
Okay, awesome. Is Gonzalo still on, or he had to go?
Punched out.
All right, he's good. All right, so let's Juan, I saw that you were coming on before. Apologies, I didn't see it soon enough. Do you want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Yes. Hello.
Oh, we
Hey,
got
Jerry, how you doing?
good. Oh, you're a North Carolina guy. Good.
I'm in North Carolina. I'm in Durham. I'm actually from the Charlotte area there, and I'm a licensed GC investor developer doing single family new construction and multifamily new construction. Do some fix and flips. Started out doing home improvements and fix and flips. Been doing it for over 20 plus years. Um, here I also gotta, you know, do do more new construction now than anything else. Um, kind of been following at a level Gabe, for a little while. Um, with his program, and did the at a level program as well. Purchased that a while
So
back.
do me a favor, drop your information in the chat over here because I save it down. And then so what's kind of unique about this group here is it's a little bit of it's a combination of a few of us that are sitting here like in the New York, New Jersey area like Gabe, but a lot of us focus our investing on the Carolinas. Santiago over here just relocated. Gonzalo, who was on the call before, relocated. So it's an interesting spot with how many people are moving down there and then have the roots from New Jersey and New York. So
Right.
sounds like you already got the concepts in hand, and certainly you can never not know enough GCs and those who know what they're doing with the building. So put your information in there, and we'll connect.
Okay. All right. I will. I'm hate I got on late. I didn't get the alert in time, and I was like, oh, I was trying to log in through the Zoom and was having trouble getting in.
Yeah, I do. I send out a recording, so I'll definitely get it out to you. And
Okay.
I'll put my email right in the chat too as well. You'll have it. Good.
Okay.
So so you said you're Raleigh, Durham area, right?
Correct. I'm in Durham. I live in Durham.
Okay, cool. Cool. So Santiago, we just talked, right? So you just moved this week, right?
Correct. Yeah, I just moved in literally last week. So we're still working on the logistics of moving in little by little.
Okay. And you we were talking a little bit about I think John and Gabe, but Greg might know the story because I had a property last year in Concord that was under contract and fell through. And I think Santiago's not too far from Concord.
That's right. Yeah, not too far. I'm by the university area, so it's like not even 5 minutes from Concord. So that's an area I want to explore. I do notice a lot in the like the metro area. There's a lot of duplexes that have potential closer to the city itself.
Yeah, I like the
I'm
duplex.
sorry. Sorry, I just want to jump in. Santi, I'm just kind of curious what made you decide to move down there and relocate?
So originally, my wife and I, she has a W-2. I was a real estate agent. I mean, I still hold a license, but as the market got very competitive, I kind of started focusing on a W-2 job. It was getting tough, especially in the North Jersey market as the rates went up. We wanted to buy our first home. We first explore trying to do like a house hack and just get a two family and just do that part, but with the numbers going up and as time clicked on, we went from that to just getting priced out, and we started exploring the Charlotte market. My brother has lived here for years, so we happened to visit last year, and then we did see the potential in it. The prices started to creep up over here as well. So once we noticed that, we started actively putting offers in whatever really made sense, because the taxes are so different than up New Jersey. So that really made our difference. So I think as the rate reached out like 7.5, that's when we really started putting more emphasis on it, because we needed our own space. So ideally, we couldn't get into something that we could house hack or something that we could just kind of get some rental value out of it. But then we just had to get our own space down here with a beautiful townhome. I'm actually trying to get in touch with whoever used to own this property because apparently they own two or three other properties within the same community, and they're trying to get rid of them. So at this point, yeah, that's the reason we moved. We were flexible with moving too. So my wife works from home, and I kind of transferred my one W-2 job because I work at a floor and decor. So I'm still kind of within the industry and just getting acquainted with contractors and people that want to remodel their homes or potentially want to sell their homes. So that's kind of like I have a tap into that. So that way maybe it made me move because I also notice a lot of North people are moving little by little down here too because it's the metro area.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. I think, yeah, it's so high priced in the New York, New Jersey area, and it just,
Mhm.
yeah, that's great. You have a connection down there already, so it works
Yeah,
out
no,
for you.
I'm absolutely looking to network with as many people from up north as well as down here just to kind of get the numbers right.
Yeah, yeah, definitely tough at this point in New Jersey to make the numbers work. That's for sure.
It's crazy because it's getting pretty busy down there too. Because well, Greg, when I was looking, I guess I don't know, must be some type of I'm actually traveling down next month down to the area, Santiago, but I was looking at the hotels and it was all super busy. This is at the end of April in Charlotte. So sometimes you hit that they have conferences, they got things like that. So it's it's certainly not as cheap as it used to be, that's for sure. Hmm. So I just dropped in my I dropped you a note, Juan. Yeah, you can when you have a chance, yeah, just send me back any other information you want to. But that was good, man. So yeah, John, definitely let's yeah, you definitely gotta I'll connect, I would say connect with Anthony because he I forget his exact story. I know that he purchased from like an older seller and they got their basis was really low and I think they're already putting that out on the market. Well, they are actually already 14 months in. So it's I mean, they was this is 14 months ago and he was found stuff, rents were still high 400s, like that's crazy because there's
Yeah.
like markets where you're, 400 or 500, a unit. So yeah, you might do well there.
Yeah, we're in a similar situation. It's the last property this multifamily operator. It's their last property in Montgomery or in Alabama in general. They punched out totally. They were, I guess, deciding to go to another MSA, but we're getting it at a really good price. It's first you were kind of scared because it was a product that was built in the '70s, but I was really impressed on how well the leasing slash property manager that's there now has a good command of the community. Like they have, and she's pretty respected. I spent the entire day there. We sent 3 crews out walking the property, and I spent most of the day in the office with the office manager or leasing manager. And like if that was like the interview process, I would be like, hey, when we take over this property, we should keep her because tenants came in and showed her respect. She showed respect, and new tenants as they were coming in were doing the same thing. I was like, all right, this woman, like, it's like good, like good Southern hospitality where they show really good respect for one another. I'm like, wow, this isn't the Northeast at all. So, but yeah, I mean, pretty incredible how aggressive we're getting the pricing. But it wasn't anything to be scared of having that kind of an older. I mean, that's 25 years older than what we're kind of used to with stuff we're buying in North Carolina. So, yeah, I'll definitely reach out to Anthony.
So, you guys are under contract already? Then you guys are doing due diligence, is that right?
We're under contract and we're doing due diligence. So we may not have. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, we may not even have to really do any kind of big capital raise because the guys bringing us in, it was kind of their first deal, and they didn't have any kind of background. So when they went out for lending, they were kind of getting laughed at. They were like, guys, this is like your first deal. Like they got single family portfolios. One of the guys who actually found the deal only had his biggest was a 20 unit. So I could come in there, I have 7 under my belt, and Scotty's the same thing where so both of us are going in there and like, hey, use our credentials. we know what we're doing, and plus we'll be able to help you guys with that's going on. And what's funny is it's similar story to yours, Jerry. This guy actually kind of worked for like families in the multifamily space. So I didn't know he knew, like, he's like, guys, he's like, dude, he's like, I've walked 15,000 units in my life. And I was like, oh, okay. So you kind of trumped the 1,500 that I probably walked in my life. So you actually, but now you're doing it for yourself. So it's a kind of cool story, but we're definitely using our credentials. We're going to try to help him get him over the goal line. And he already has, since he has that many contacts, and he's, he may be able to bring all the cash to the table. So they really only need us for the credential part of it and help us out with getting it over the goal line.
So Greg, did you get any like, while I was thinking about this, like any ideas going as far as like maybe talking to some about doing some of these like shorter term projects? I know within the group there's a few that, I think have the appetite for something like this.
To do like a short term, like
Yeah, like what?
the fun Gapes thing or something like that, or
Yeah. Because I know we were talking like for me, I would do it more on the funding side, obviously, right? So I'd have to find that partner, that's going to be the I guess the asset manager. But I think, again, one of it, what I like about it is it also could be a segue for some to get in as investors, they know they don't have to wait, 3 years, to see if this really works,
Yeah, I mean, I think, when I was thinking about it personally, I guess, the 8% for 0 to 100, I think it was, and I'd probably want to do something other than that. But with the group, if you hit 100 or above, getting 10%, that sounds like that could be something that people will be interested in. And so, especially for a newbie investor to have that first investment that pans out and in like you say, not such a long period. So, it's something to think about for sure. And it does. I mean, and you can see how. I mean, I'm living in the New Jersey area, going through some of those towns like Scotch Plains and Westfield and all that, where you can see that there's so much value in putting another level on, taking something. I mean, we actually, I guess, had an opportunity to buy out something that my wife's uncle had passed away, and somebody else, a builder had to take it. I mean, it was just out of our means at the time, but maybe had I known then what I know now, maybe we could have done something. But it's not a bad idea for sure. So think about that.
Yeah, I think the nice thing there is it's a when I'm trying to raise money for multifamily, it's, hey, money back in 5 years. There'll be distributions along the way, probably after the first year. But if you're talking about just a year or 12-month, 18-month hold, that's kind of more attractive sometimes when you're trying to raise money for that, as opposed to the longer cycle. So quicker cash flow, I guess, is what I was saying before. But it's a different. It is still a different business. It's still in real estate, but still a different kind of business. I mean, I think you need all the same stuff. You need the asset manager. You need all the things that we need, the finance guy, and everything else. But it's still a different, little bit different.
Cool. All right, so just a reminder before we sign off here, up on the top left or the bottom right, it depends where it is. You have those little 3 dots that'll save down the chat with everyone's information. I think I got this. And Gabe's information is in here too. So if you guys, I'll send out the recording and we'll do this again. I appreciate everybody spending Monday night with me.
No, thank you, Jerry, for putting it together.
Thanks, Jerry. All right.
Great, man. Juan,
nice
Thanks, Jerry.
All right.
See you guys.
Good. Santiago, be in touch, all right?
Nice, Jerry.
Have a good
See you
night.
soon.
All right, take it easy.